Hey, remember if you're playing the drinking game at home, you have to finish your drink whenever I get up to go pee.
In
In 5D.
5D. Actually, that if we were playing D&D, people would be catatonic.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That game has at least our game, the one that, well, it's been many games, but that crew, we've been
The,
doing it for what, 5 years at least now?
yeah, at least.
Easily 5 years, yeah. So no, for sure. There's a lot of getting up and a lot of peeing and whatnot. Oh, funnily enough, so I let it slip to some of the gaming crew from Tuesdays. This is relevant to what we do. Um, that I was finally writing a D&D game that I was gonna DM.
I'm just
Right?
now realizing how terrible this is. My wife was just getting something out of the closet. So it looks. Wait, hold on, wait, watch this. Like,
Okay.
messy. So much less messy. It's clean.
Why do you think the camera is pointed towards a blank wall and none of the rest of this
Uh,
office you could see?
if I pointed it towards the blank wall, it would just look messy.
Because you got a bunch of boxes. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
Oh,
it's the what really happened is there used to be a frog tank that covered a bunch of like what those wires plug into and where those wires go, but the frog died and I didn't have a use for the tank. So I'm probably gonna get bookshelves, but
oh, I thought you
now
were
I
gonna
have to
get a
like
fish.
I have to get the bookshelves. So and that requires doing things and
Yeah, no,
ugh.
I understand. Adulting is pretty hard
Yeah.
nowadays. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I spent my weekend
That's why that's
watching
not hung up. That's
movies.
why that's not sold yet. Anybody watching, if you want the TV, I'll just give it to you. Just come get it. I just don't want that
Just come get it. No, that would
right
require
there.
them to have your address, and we're not doing that.
Yeah, we're not doing that, but if you can find where I live and you just show me like, yo, I want that TV, you can have that TV. It's right
That's
there.
the worst.
So,
That is the worst advice you've ever given anybody. Hey, audience! If any of you crazy ass mofo's show up to my house unannounced and unprompted, I will give you a gift of a TV.
I mean, they'd have to ask for the TV, so I know why they're there.
I
You know,
mean,
I'm not.
sure,
It's
that's
not
not
just
the
like the
part.
first. It's not just like the first guy who shows up at my door unannounced is gonna just get handed a TV.
Actually, at this point, I think that's the better option because having a conversation just takes it to a whole other level.
No, they just come up and they say like, "Yo, I'm here for that TV," and I go, "Oh yeah, here's that TV."
That TV. No, you should be like, which TV, bro?
It's that. I'm pointed at it. It's right there. It's that TV
Yeah, but there's no
right there.
information about that, man. You would be the worst at eBay selling.
It's a TV. What do you? And it's free. What do you need from it? It's a
uh, you,
free
you
TV.
you
Here's
haven't
the worst
seen.
thing. My wife actually took some stuff and she put it up on Nextdoor or something like that.
Yeah.
And she put it up for free. And people were just like, "Can you drop it off? Can you bring it?"
Wait,
People were just insane about it. And then finally she was like, "It's $5." And someone was just like, "Oh, I got $5. I'll come pick it up right now." And they came and they gave us $5 and they left. And it was the easiest thing in the world. And I don't know why charging money for something made that easier. Why was free harder? Just
um.
come take crap I don't want.
So here's the weird part. So there's a whole subreddit dedicated just to this, which I'm glad we're talking about because there's so many subreddits that are just fucking out there. But this one's called "Choosing Beggars," where I didn't think these things were real. I thought that was just shit that was being made up. But as you're starting to mention, like, oh yeah, hey, this free bicycle, can you bring it to me? No.
No.
Why would I do that? It's free. Come and get it. But there's a whole subreddit of all these exclusively like. It usually starts off, and I don't know if this is fake. It could really just be. This is the template that they've got into, but it's like, "Hi, is X still available?" Yes, X is available. I'm willing to give you a whole bunch of money less than what you're looking for. Or if it's free, it's can you drop it off and can it happen within the next 30 seconds? Obviously, I'm being facetious, but that's the general thing. And then if the person says no, then immediate sob story about how somebody, a child, a parent themselves have some sort of life-threatening disease, and how this would really make their life a little bit better. Or alternatively, how much you not giving away this free thing or for an exorbitant discount is gonna ruin their child's day, Christmas, life, faith in humanity. Just,
Oh, great news! I don't give a fuck about your kid.
the best part is like
Not at all.
that's exactly what I fall into. It's like, oh, you're really sad. It's oh, but my kid's gonna be really sad that he's not gonna have this Xbox. And I'm like, okay, well, coming from a very poor background myself, there are many times where I didn't have an Xbox. I remember growing up until I was about 20 and I could buy my own where I didn't have an Xbox.
Right.
So, yes, definitely not feeling very sorry. I just think it's crazy because whenever there have been times, because especially funny enough when we were planning the wedding, we weren't going to spend a lot of money on certain things. Like she did her own decorations and all that stuff. I helped because I have no fucking artistic talent. That's why I say I helped. Where it'd be like, well, dude, there's all these other brides who bought a bunch of this shit and they're just gonna have to get rid of it. So like things like table runners and I don't know what they're called, but they're the plates that plates sit on top of. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
You know, I'm willing to bet they were at your wedding, but
They
buddy,
were.
I was destroyed at your wedding.
Oh yeah, no, they were. That was the free open bar. You're welcome. But
Yep.
so I forget what they're called, but they're basically like they usually match the wedding colors, and they're a larger plate. They're the kind of plates that I'd like to have at my house to just throw food on, but they're larger, and they go, and then you put the plate on top of the plate as a thing, so it doesn't dirty. I don't actually know what they're for, but they're pretty. Ours were silver.
So they can sell you
shiny.
2 plates. That's the point of that plate.
Well, here's the
The
interesting
second
bit.
plate for more money plate.
The decorative underplate, that's what I'm calling it now. The decorative
There you go.
underplate was $2 a plate. If you
The
have
decorative underplate, the dupe.
the dupe, yeah. Well, I'm not sorry. The dupe were $2 each, brand new.
Of
However,
course they were.
you find a bride who has a bunch of dupes left over, and we got them for like 75 cents a pop, which
Oh, yeah.
it's still a lot when you have over 100 guests, but it's cheaper than $2 a pop. So we did a lot of those things. So whenever free stuff that match, we were always super grateful because like we didn't have to go buy it ourselves. So I just don't understand how, bringing it right back to where we started. A lot of these people on the free sites are just like, oh, this free thing you're giving me, you fucking monster. What do you mean it doesn't include all the accessories?
Hey, and let me reassure you, as a happy attendee at your wedding, I didn't notice shit about the plates. You got them secondhand,
Hey,
third hand,
buddy.
built them out of paper. I didn't notice.
Here's the biggest secret. It wasn't about you, and it wasn't
Nope.
about me.
Sure wasn't.
None of that was about either of us.
No.
I have no regrets. Like, I still get comments till this day. It wasn't nearly as expensive as it looked because my wife is very good with money.
Hey, I get comments about my wedding too. They're just in a very
just-
different
Yeah,
tone.
they're just most of the time it's with a question mark at the end, like, when was it or where was it?
Oh no, we get a lot of bitter comments from our family.
Still,
It's great.
I figured after 10 years y'all'd be fine.
No. Snide comments left and right.
Oh my god, I mean, look, if Reddit has taught me anything, is that weddings can be just fucking insane. I think that's where we need to pivot there, Bonsai. We need to just start reading Reddit stories on our channel. That seems to be the popular thing.
That is a popular thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, oddly popular. I know because I when I just need drivel in the background, blah 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 blah. That's what I put on. Just random talking. Also, a lot of British voices reading Reddit. Apparently, that's a thing too.
You know what I was gonna say? Speaking of something that's just a lot of blah 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 and talking, boy, does that bring us to our first review this week. Get them fingers ready to bring up a graphic.
Yep.
We're both gonna talk about this one. The Munsters. And as much as I describe it as a bunch of blah 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 talking, if you've never seen the original Munsters, that's essentially what that show was. It The theme I wouldn't say was wasted, but the way the theme was used in horror puns, that it
Yeah, that's
whole show was just horror puns,
so like
spooky puns.
look,
That's the show. And we're bearing the lead. Okay. So we're talking about Munsters. Rob Zombie did a new version of the Munsters.
Just
I believe
released
straight to Netflix,
couple
right? They
weeks
were the
ago.
prime
Yes.
distributor of that.
yes.
Yeah, not a series movie, a standalone movie as far as we know. Maybe it'll get a sequel, sounding like probably not. And look, by this point you've probably heard it's not reviewing very well. And it's funny because this is one of those rare times where Eduardo and I, it's one of those weird things where our backgrounds just kind of weirdly lined up,
Yeah.
even though they shouldn't. We just have these points where our backgrounds line up very well, and this is one of them where I wouldn't say either of us were like hard fans of the Munsters. I don't think either one of us would claim to have like seen all of them.
Yeah.
But you and I grew up, and we've seen a fair like Munsters was part of our childhood in some capacity, and not like passively to the point firsthand. We have seen many
Yeah.
episodes, multiple handfuls of episodes. I don't know what you want to call it. I couldn't count them or something, but we've watched the Munsters.
Collectively, I would say you and I have watched at least 30% of the series.
Minimum, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
at least.
I can't imagine that between the two of us we saw. And that's a guess. Please, nobody try and be like, well, if you've seen 30, you've seen. But yeah, but between the two of us, passively catching them through the means that we had them, it definitely wasn't everything. But it was enough to get the gist of the show.
Yeah.
We didn't see an episode or two. We saw many episodes, enough to have an opinion.
And so,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to put this out really quick, just for the sake of all the bullshit that's about to come out of my mouth. My frame of reference for the Munsters is weird because just like everything else, I got it years after it came out, and
Yes,
even
same.
years after.
Yeah,
it
we're
was
not we're not that old. Like we didn't grow up with the Munsters. We just had a weird enough background where like Munsters was a thing that was going to be on in front of kids who shouldn't have been growing up with the Munsters.
Exactly. By the point I got to it, it had already been in syndication for a while.
Yeah, it was black and white, and we didn't grow up
yeah.
with black and white TV.
And it was on public television.
Yeah,
Not even cable anymore. Like, it had already done its entirety of its runs elsewhere.
And see, weirdly, I got a lot of it from I had a babysitter who was just obsessed with the 50s. Like that was her jam. She
fair.
loved shit from the 50s. And so she had just lots of like old shows, old music, so we saw a lot of this on, I want to say it was probably VHS. I was little at the time, but
yeah.
I want to say it was VHS.
For VHS or like TV Land or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then I watched a lot of TV Land, and if this was on or on Nick at Night,
It was one of those, I forget.
If Munsters ever did a run on either of those, I probably caught more of it in middle school at that point as well. Again, staying up way too late at night,
Yeah.
just watching it.
So contextually, please continue. But contextually, I just wanted to say, Addams Family and this, I actually don't know which one came out first, and to me, it didn't really matter.
It was just one of those
exposed around
weird
the same
old
time.
shows that was on TV on the stations that we had available to us.
Yep.
Whatever it means. So with that, do I understand why people hate the fuck out of this movie? Yes.
Hate is strong for me, but continue.
Do I think they're wrong about that opinion? No. Do I think Rob Zombie did a bad, a dishonest, a disingenuine, a misinformed, a poor quality? Do I think he stumbled on making this movie? If I'm being honest, no. I think he made classic Munsters, but classic Munsters just doesn't really appeal to a modern audience. And when I brought this up, I think you immediately went like, holy fuck, I landed on sort of the same vein.
Yeah. And so I don't understand the hate. That's what I don't understand.
I understand the hate coming from somebody who is not used to this era of comedy, and therefore, like this rapid fire cheesy pun shit. There's nothing like that. And if you're coming into it now, I totally get going, what the fuck is this? It's stupid and I hate it. I
Yeah,
get that.
I get the dislike, but the outright hate that it's getting, I think is misplaced. Because look, there's room for this kind of comedy.
Sure.
I don't like I Heart Huckabees, but there's people that are super into that kind of fucking comedy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't like the Office style comedy for sure,
I don't
right?
like the Office
there's
style
just
comedy.
stuff
I'm in that camp.
there's a difference between something being bad and something being not
Yeah.
your bag, right? Not your thing. For this, like, the weird part is the classic show for me was a safe departure from the standard vanilla TV that I had been watching, right? Like, because it was black and white, so it was
Sure.
automatically deemed safe.
Sure. And that's actually probably fair.
Right? But it was about these monsters, and what I thought was fascinating. And I'm an Addams Family person. That's just the truth. But what I found fascinating is that it wasn't just shitty puns, but there was an in joke, and I felt like I was in on the joke.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So that's what
And
it
for
was
me,
for me.
we've talked about before, I grew up with the horror movies and the death metal and stuff. And so this was like, yo, they're like spooky dudes, but they're like lovable dudes. And so
Yeah.
it was just cool. It seemed like it was kind of made for a kid like me, even though it like was and wasn't. I actually don't know what the intended audience originally was.
I
don't.
need to go back and rewatch some of the episodes of the old series because I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to doubt that it holds up, but who knows?
I think it holds up if you're into this era of comedy. And so, what the movie is, truly, this is about the sort of the origin of the Munsters. The Munsters are Grandpa. Is he just Dracula? I
He's
think he's Grandpa Dracula.
he's not Grandpa Dracula. I'm pretty sure they call him the Count. So I think it's implied. I don't know. That
Okay.
It's,
Okay, and then his daughter Lily, who's also a vampire, and then the love interest in this because it's the origin of Lily and Herman's relationship, a Frankenstein. I guess we reveal in this. I don't know if this is in the original show. I somehow doubt it. Maybe it was, but it's a young Frankenstein scenario. The brain that's in him is not the brain that was intended to be in him.
yeah.
I guess that's a minor spoiler. Sorry.
I mean, it
doesn't matter.
That's just it though. It's played off as a tiki joke, but it doesn't really.
Which honestly, most things in this movie are. I would say that there is no main plot of. I guess maybe that house deal, but even that is so.
It's
backgroundy almost.
Yeah, it's introduced in.
It's more plot fuel than it is plot.
Exactly. It's something that was a thread thrown in there to connect the beginning and the end of the movie, and that's about it.
Yeah, most things in this movie are very anecdotal. It's just a lot of setup for puns, which some of them fucking land. I'm not even a big pun guy. I'm not. I don't really like puns and pun humor.
I am not a pun.
This hit both though. I had ones that were so groan worthy I had to laugh, and I had ones that were generally so clever I went, "Oh fuck, that is really good, well fucking done."
But here's the problem.
It hit both.
Sure.
But when you're spread firing puns.
But that's the problem. So you're
Yes.
right. There were a couple, not just puns, but a couple of jokes that landed really well, and I was like, "Oh fuck, okay." But then I completely forgot what they were. And almost.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you what any of them were.
Because exactly. So as you mentioned, it was rapid fire, and
Yeah.
the problem with puns is that
You can be worn down.
you can be worn down with puns, and you once one hits, the next one is the fucking worst thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And it's rapid fire.
Oh my god. So one thing that I wanted to also mention, because you brought it up, so I'm giving you the credit on this. The surreal humor it's not surreal in like in the sense of like Im- dudes imagining a big troll that comes up and sticks something up its ass surreal. Like it's not
It's like Mighty
fantastical
Boosh
surreal.
surreal.
It's it's surreal comedy is so fucking hard.
Yeah.
But it's a style that like overemphasizes something that seems
Honest-
like it matters to nothing. Does
It,
that
it,
make
it
sense?
honestly almost comes close to like a Family Guy, except instead of like flashbacks that are truly non sequitur, it's more like things that are brought up and dropped casually.
And brought up but like highlighted and then never spoken of again.
Yeah.
So like unless they do a callback, which one of the ones that killed me was the fucking homage to Nosferatu.
Disco Vampire Sexy Sexy. I laughed so hard I choked. Just full on truth. Disco Vampire Sexy Sexy.
The first
Fucking
time
wrecked me.
I got it, and I went, "Ha! All right, I see what they're doing here." But the second time,
Uh-huh.
where it was no longer this random piece of out of nowhere thing to show how weird this is, because unfortunately, the problem I didn't quite align the first time is that it was already weird, so the weirdness wasn't weird enough to really push it over that edge. But
Oh, see, for me, honestly, I think the first time was just enough to establish what the edge was, and so I was allowed to meet it at madness and go, guess who plays madness all the time?
No.
Welcome, friend.
no, and see, for me it was because you know me, I'm just on the other side of that line with you, where like we both teeter on the edge of madness. It's just the opposite ends because
Right.
I was like, yes, I get this, I understand, and it actually kind of let me know what the movie was gonna do.
Yeah.
Because-
Well, and that's what that for me that was it. That was the line we drew where it's like, this is how far we
Exactly.
go, and I went,
It,
far enough, sir.
it-
Thank you.
it was
Well, I'm also
context.
going to do this really quick.
yeah,
Drink.
it was
Drink.
nice. So it was definitely a lot of context in that moment. But yeah, it just didn't quite land because it was random and it was funny, but it wasn't laugh out loud funny. The second time that it came in, though, it was completely like off to the side. He's doing the second scene in like the club where Herman is also plays, and that's where you see him really start singing and putting his act on. And you got to come in, and he's just sitting there in the background. Disco's vampire, sexy, and it killed me. I was dying. It was a perfect callback. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about, where with surreal comedy, you kind of have to let yourself be taken away by the ridiculousness of it. It was almost absurdist, right? So a lot of the themes in the monsters in general is absurdism. You have these classical looking monsters set in a world, at least in the original show, where they're these classical monsters that just get put into very day-to-day situations. Like a setup for a stereotypical monsters episode would be, well, how do they get their mail? That would be the plot of an entire episode. And then you just throw in a bunch of jokes and non sequiturs about how out of place they are, but they don't know they're out of place. So it's that proverbial fish out of water, but amped up because they just, oh my, weird that people reacted that way.
I would say it's actually ramped up even more because it was never just the monsters. There were always some other monsters around too, clearly living these normal, I have to go get my mail lives,
Yeah.
but running into the same problems. Like there were many a monster about in the world, and it presumably their lives were the exact same way. So it was this weird scale of both. Sure, there are tons of monsters and they're everywhere, but also it still terrifies people and they're weird, creepy monster people.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I honestly think that we said surreal, but I think absurdist humor is a little bit closer to how.
Okay, I buy that. I buy that.
Because again, it's these out of the ordinary beings in very ordinary situations. So
Yeah.
you can add allegory or whatever you want. Here's where I think it fails. At least the movie. It was everything the show was, and
Yes.
nothing more.
Yeah.
And it's current year. Comedy in general not only has evolved, but people now do this type of film as an homage to this type of film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this didn't even feel like an homage. It just felt like, beat by beat, it was a very long version of the show, a very long episode of the show.
And I would like to point out, notice that neither one of us is calling it bad.
No,
I think while neither one of us really enjoyed it, I don't think it's bad. It's fine. It's great for what it is. Just what it is something that you and I aren't really interested in.
So the visuals are fantastic.
Yes.
Dear Lord, the makeup work and the costume work is fantastic.
It's so fun.
The sets, while they're not gorgeous in a standard sense, they're gorgeous in a. It's supposed to look all dingy. It's
heavily stylized. Like things that are cheesy are meant to look cheesy, and things that look great are meant to look great. It's very purposeful in what it's doing.
I would say if they ever want to do a live action Jack Skellington flick, hire the company that did the sets and the costumes for this.
Yeah.
Like it was gorgeous in that sense. As someone who, like, I may not be as into horror flicks and monster flicks like you and Jay are, but I very much appreciate the work that it takes in going into it, and I know it's a lot of work, so it was fantastic. I will say it felt a little long. The last 20 minutes feel like they just didn't need to happen.
Yeah, it's what, honest. 2 hours?
Something like that.
2.5?
For a flick like this, you just didn't need enough. There were also subplot points that just never got anywhere. I felt where, like, I get why they did it, but like I said, it just felt like it's a thread to explain why they ended up the way that they ended up, and that's it. It wasn't storytelling.
I'm trying to get a runtime. Okay, 110 minutes.
Yeah, so that's hour and 40? 50? Almost 2 hours. Math is hard.
Almost 2 hours, yeah.
Math is hard. Yeah. I don't know. I
honestly, shave off 10, 15 minutes, I feel like it would go a long way.
Yeah, straight up. The last 20 minutes I feel did not need to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's kind of where I'll leave it, because, look, there were portions where I was bored, and there were other portions where I understood the moment of genius that Zombie had.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it was all in the same fucking movie, and
at the same time, honestly, I feel like it's like one of the modern Kevin Smith movies. It's for the people it's for. It's definitely not something that was ever going to appeal to a wide audience. But I think the people who like it are going to really like it. Much like the modern Smith stuff. The Yoga Hosers, the Reboot, the Red State, the Tusk. It's not for everybody. And not every filmmaker can constantly make content that's going to appeal to a wide audience. Sometimes you just got to aim for the people it's going to be for. And I feel like for this, if you're like a hard-ass Munsters fan, I really do think you'll like this movie. If you're kind of into that 1950s kitschy shit, I really feel like you'll like this movie. Or if you're just cheesy as fuck and love puns, you're gonna fucking like this movie. This movie has an audience. It's just not everybody.
If you're the type of person who does 24-hour marathons for Halloween, add this to your list. It is very much...
I do double features for my birthday, which is only a couple of days before Halloween.
But you're not doing a 24-hour... Like, you're not watching Hocus Pocus the same time. You're not...
Actually, I did watch this and Hocus Pocus on the same day.
So did I. Well, Hocus Pocus 2.
Yeah.
Which is a good segue. But
It is a good segue.
honestly, but before we move on, I just kind of want to cap this off with
Before we seg all the way.
yeah, exactly. We're just segging right now. We'll get to the way later. I just want to say it's really hard to rate this film. But how much do you think it would have been impacted if it was actually in black and white, like the original plan was?
So little.
You don't think that would have helped?
I think it would have helped in that it would have tempered Zombie. I do think his build on this, at least in the way he's worded it, sounded slightly retaliatory.
Okay.
In that he said, I want to make it black and white, they didn't let me, so I made it as surreal as possible. It clearly affected his tone on the film. It clearly affected his approach on the film. I think had they given him the opportunity to make it black and white and proven, this should have been on the list. Shit, I forgot. Eduardo and I usually do a little pre-planning so he can get stills and he can get stuff up for things that we watch. And I totally forgot to tell him that I watched Werewolf by Night. Because I'm about to talk about Werewolf by Night, and I actually think he would enjoy Werewolf by Night and that it wouldn't scare the shit out of his wife. Yay. If Werewolf by Night proved anything, it's that black and white still fucks and it really doesn't affect your film at all. Like, at all. Black and white still has a place as long as it's used, intelligently. As long as it feels like there's a reason for it to be black and white. And Munsters, I absolutely feel like, would have been black and white. Or if it would have been black and white, it would have worked. And I think it would have tempered Zombie into giving a much more straightforward adaptation, which I think could have played to a more mainstream audience. Okay, with that... Oh, sorry, no, go.
But I was going to say, but without any changes, I think black and white wouldn't have done shit to it.
No, it wouldn't have affected it at all.
So, Werewolf by Night. Let's keep it going.
Yes. Man, I can't believe I forgot about this. So, Werewolf by Night, super fun, mini Marvel project. I want to say it's 55 minutes long, standalone, Marvel horror side?
Which is a thing. It's totally
Yes.
a thing.
So for hard Marvel fans, think of this sort of like towards your Doctor Strange Blade universe. It's that side of things. It's not your Iron Man, it's not your Thor, it's not your Guardians. This is Earth and mysticism, right? Magic. DC fans, this is your Justice League Dark kind of thing.
Which is still my favorite run of most DC.
Dude, you're gonna like Werewolf by Night. So, totally done in black and white. It focuses on a couple of people, and I'm gonna feel like such a piece of crap, but the guy who's on the screen right now and is the Werewolf by Night, I cannot for the life of me remember that character's name other than being the Werewolf by Night.
The character's name or the actor's name?
The character's name? I don't know any of the actors' names. Let's get that shit out of the way right now.
Jack Russell, is that the name of the character?
Think so. Like Jack Russell Terrier, because he's a werewolf. Yes. So the whole thing revolves around him showing up to the funeral / competition of the elder member of the Bloodstone family. For, I'm going to say hard Marvel fans, because it's not a common character. I think I kept screwing up the name while my wife and I were watching it, so forgive me if I'm wrong again. I want to say it's Eliza Bloodstone, but
Elsa.
Elsa! I literally kept doing this the entire movie, calling her Eliza, and it's fucking Elsa.
Let it go.
I hate you so... We just talked about puns. I hate you! Elsa Bloodstone. So, Elder Bloodstone, her father, dies, and he's leaving the Bloodstone behind, and the best monster hunters in the world are all invited to compete in a closed monster hunt for rights to the Bloodstone.
I might watch this as soon as this podcast ends. Sounds like my jam.
It was so... And legitimately, I think it might push Van a little bit. I don't think it will actually scare her.
She's not here.
Oh, fair enough. I and maybe you'll be the judge because it's only 55 minutes. You might be down to watch it twice. I really don't think this would scare her. And the reason I bring this up for anybody new who's watching, Eduardo's wife just has a very low horror threshold. Like
Very low.
she's just not in for scary shit. And as a big horror fan, it's always been sort of a personal vendetta of mine to find bits of horror that she can digest.
I forget what side of the line she falls under, but Signs is the line. I forget if that's just too scary or just tame enough to be okay.
Oh fuck, I hate
And
Signs.
you know how not scary that one was.
So, the last bit I'm going to do on Werewolf by Night before we do the segue we're going to do, because this is a total aside, not only does it introduce the Werewolf by Night, not only does it introduce the Bloodstones, and this is Marvel canon. This like it says on the screenshot, Marvel Studios. This is a Disney Plus Marvel Studios thing. It also introduces Man Thing.
Oh my
This
god.
brings me so much joy that we are going into deep cuts enough to pull up fucking Man Thing. And it looks great. Man Thing looks so good.
Okay.
55 minutes in and out, super fun, hammy, and it's done in a very Universal Monsters sort of tone.
I just want to say, I can't wait till we do Rom Space Night. If we're doing these kind of deep cuts,
Just make it happen.
yeah. At this point,
Is that
come
is that
on.
Marvel? Rom Space Knight's Marvel proper?
Yeah, it was originally Marvel. I don't know if
Okay.
it's. That's why I'm saying, like, if we're doing deep cuts, come on.
Yeah.
That okay. Fuck Guardians of the Galaxy. Do fucking the Space Knights. I think that it's got.
I'm still shocked that we've introduced the Nova Corps and not introduced
Yeah.
Nova. What?
Okay. Yeah, and the fuck. I just get so frustrated sometimes because when they do deep cuts, they do these deep cuts where I'm just like, why? It's gotta be like somebody at Marvel Studios that was.
If you
their
want it,
deep
it's not a
cut.
deep enough cut.
I mean, I guess. I guess. Although I feel like Rom Space Knight is a pretty deep cut.
It's a pretty deep cut. All right. Werewolf by Night. Definitely check it. Really, my wife did not like it as much as I did, but still liked it. I think she'd probably come in at a solid 3.5. I come in at a solid 4 to 4.5.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. Fun,
Okay.
super fun, and at 55 minutes, what do you do? What are you doing that you don't got that on a weekend?
Right?
Free your life up.
You know, going outside.
Free your life up.
I was gonna say I'm not ready to do a review on it, but I have started watching the new Quantum Leap show.
Okay, I'm curious.
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna come out. I watched the first 2 episodes. I want to get
What's
a
it
little
on?
bit more into it. I have Hulu, but I don't know if it's the TV component of
Oh,
Hulu.
it's on your Prime one then because I have Hulu and I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
We promised a segue. Let's Alakazam and Hocus Pocus.
All right.
Ooh.
I have actually, funnily enough, I spelled this all stupid on the graphic list. It's spelled HYOUOCUS. Hyokis? Hyokis Pyokis. Phew. Okay. So, this is going to be a nostalgia-ridden review because the original is one of my favorite.
Did you rewatch number 1 before rewatching number 2?
About a month ago, so that's why I didn't
Okay.
rewatch it.
I rewatched them 3, 4, 5 days.
No,
apart.
I just had a hankering for it. You know, it's like, oh, Halloween's almost here. Just hankering for. So I rewatched it on Disney Plus.
Sure.
I still, obviously, there's a couple of parts. It's like when I watch Casper. I love that fucking movie because of childhood reasons. But there's just a couple parts where you're like, yeah, that idea just doesn't hold up nowadays. So there were some of those things, but generally speaking, I liked it. So I went into Hocus Pocus 2 with that nostalgia, that happy-go-lucky. This is probably going to be a fun little ride, right?
Right.
How about you? What was your thoughts going into it, seeing it that close?
Yeah, watching them really close together. I watched the first, still enjoyed the first for the most part. You know, like it's not just the rose-colored glass of nostalgia. I think it's still a fun enough movie as much as it ever was. Coming into two, I did kind of have tempered expectations, kind of knowing how these sequels are being whipped out. And so, luckily, if that's done anything, it's both softened my disappointment, but also lowered my expectations.
I mean, which is good for especially these new sequels coming up.
Right. So, I think I came into this even keeled enough to land where I land on my review. Look at me, building intrigue.
And mystery,
Mystery.
which is a character as well in comics.
Mystery?
Mr. E.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm also weirdly not familiar.
It's Justice League Dark. It's
Oh, yeah, I'm not
books
as
of magic stuff. Yeah.
okay.
See, deep cuts, motherfuckers.
Yeah, no, we got him.
Um,
What you show up for?
Hocus Pocus 2. So there's a couple of elements that I'm just that annoy me from the get go.
Okay.
And I always feel like a dick saying them, but I'm starting to get real tired about just this general sense of we gotta show. Let's not just tell a story. Let's show some shit that's gonna make us look like we actually care about society.
Yes, every villain needs to be sympathetic. I've talked about it before. I also
God.
am very tired of sympathetic villains.
I'm
I'm
so fucking annoyed. Like, oh, so look, this is gonna be a spoiler review if you haven't seen it.
yeah,
Check
we're
it
gonna
out.
the shit out of it. That's how this works.
So yeah, we're gonna spoil the fucking dick out of it because it needs it. I'll lead with, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
I might actually watch it again when I'm feeling nostalgic around.
Sure.
Definitely not this year. Maybe sometime next year around Halloween.
I think if I watch the first again, yeah, assuming Disney Plus sticks around, which there's no reason to assume that it wouldn't. If I feel nostalgic next year and my wife wants to throw on a Halloween movie that isn't going to scare her, and I'm watching Hocus Pocus 1, and at the end it goes, "Would you like to watch Hocus Pocus 2?" I'm pretty likely to go, "Yeah, why not?"
Yeah, yeah. Or hey, I'm playing video games on the couch and I just want to have something in the background. Hocus Pocus 1 played. Let Hocus Pocus 2 keep going.
Let it roll on. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
reason to abruptly come to a stop.
And I'm not gonna sit here and go when people ask how was it and be like, don't watch it, it's shit. No,
No.
it's fine. That there were a couple of things that killed me that I'll go into, but
Yep, there were things I didn't like. There were things I did like.
yeah, can we just? There's two fucking big themes that annoy the dick out of me, especially as a reason. One is, does it have to be a messiah? Does it always have to be a messiah character?
Yeah.
Like, look, the whole there's a chosen one. I get it. I get why they do it, but like, the first one didn't have that, so the second one didn't need it.
Yeah.
Right. That's that. And then the second is sympathetic villains.
Yep.
So the townspeople were, honestly, they were just kind of mean to them. If you put it
Yeah.
from the perspective of the townspeople, you got these kids living by themselves who aren't adhering to social norms. Not saying the social norms were great. So what they decided to do was adopt them away. That's what it
Right.
sounded like. But they were dicks about it. Okay,
Right.
sure. And then that turns into the whole like, well, they became witches because of that. Which would be fine, but we're not pretending the first movie didn't happen, where they've literally eaten the souls of many, many children to stay young.
So let's do this a little more tit for tat, because I actually remember the couple things we brought up. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play the devil's advocate,
Sure.
but here's how I want to temper that. I actually fall in agreeing with you on how I felt about it. And yet, at the same time, the minute my wife and I brought up these very things, we were immediately able to justify it and kind of be cool with it while still not liking it. So, are we totally doing the sympathetic villain again and totally doing the justified why they turned bad in the first place? Yes. What I liked about doing it this time is they added a character who had that very attitude. Let's continue the plot a little bit. We get into it. There's a new group of girls. They are young Wicca practitioners, or, as much as they claim
not,
to be.
not specifically Wicca. Young,
Okay. Fair, 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 fair.
young witchy arts. Legitimately, they call it witchy. They don't specify what it is,
Yes,
and I don't
yes.
want to offend anybody
Yeah,
because
absolutely
the
fair.
Wiccans
Absolutely
get a
fair.
bad rap.
Absolutely fair. They are young practitioners of some sort of something, and they have this. I wouldn't call them a guiding influence, but an influence in the local magic shop owner, and
They've
the
got a
local
mentor-ish.
yes, we already said this is going to be spoiler full, so here's where they're really going to come into full effect. Just honestly, with looking at the time, just finish out the episode. Bye. We love you. Have a nice day. Catch us on streaming night. Okay. So local mentor dupes these girls into lighting a new black flame candle and bringing back the witches. Not because he's evil, because he knows the history of the Sanderson sisters and he decides, yo, they're just a bunch of girls who got a bad rep and were shit on. That's why they turned evil, and that's why they're doing this. And I would actually argue, even though I fall with you and I'm so sick of sympathetic villains, and I still don't like it in this. I don't like it. I'm tired of it. What I will say is that based on their actions in this, they were at least always a little, I'm not even going to call it evil, but always a little bit of who they were. And they were sort of always going to behave in the ways they behaved. And he's wrong. Sure, they were abused and misguided and fell into this lifestyle, but they're so in on the lifestyle that they're still going to backstab this guy, even though we helped him, and make him do their bidding because they are who they are now, and that's just the way the game is. So I liked that we did it, but we finally gave it a little bit of that, hey, but they actually are evil now. No matter why they got into evil, they're now part of that lifestyle, and it is who they are. I appreciated that fact.
I just don't, because that's the same. It's the same thing. Every villain that's being shown as sympathetic, they're
No. Hold, like let's look at like the Spider-Man ones. Sandman and Electro both kind of redeem themselves by being the good person they always. That doesn't really happen with the Sanderson sisters in this. There are maybe they got into the dark arts because of bad circumstance, but being kind of selfish, dickish, hey, we're in it for the three of us, like family. That's what they came down to. And if you weren't their family, they weren't here for you. They weren't. They were dicks if you weren't part of the family. You were something to be used. So, and again, I'm still saying I fall where you fall. I still don't like it.
For sure.
I don't like that opening scene. I wish we didn't do it. I wish I didn't have to have this conversation. But at least we finally gave it the perspective of we give that we give Hallmark people the Hallmark guy. But guess what? Hallmark guy is wrong, and they are bad witches now.
I honestly just wish. The problem is it broke disbelief a couple of times for me. So I honestly just wish that maybe the villagers burned their house down and exiled them from the town. Maybe just give us something believable to why they if you're gonna give us an origin and say that like they were misunderstood and they were shit, show us the reality. Because I'm not like it doesn't have to be graphic and shit.
Here, perfect. I think we got a small bit of that. We re-go over the origins of Billy. In the first movie, we establish, hard fact, first movie, that he was a boyfriend of Winifred who slept with, oh fuck, not Mary. Winifred, Mary, and...
Nope.
Matthew Broderick's wife!
Yup.
I can't remember any.
I know the actress's name, but I don't know the character's
Sarah Jessica
name.
Parker, but I don't remember her character's name all of a sudden. Winifred, Mary, and... Jethro! Either way, Billy was dating Winifred, slept with Sarah Jessica Parker. Sarah! Oh, wow, that's probably why I don't associate it very well, though.
Yeah, same.
Her name is just Sarah.
Yeah, that's probably the same reason with me.
So... dating Winifred, slept with Sarah, has his tongue cut out, and is killed. Tongue cut out, mouth sewn shut, killed. This movie, it comes out that no, that's bullshit. That's what Winifred believed. That's what Winifred spread, but he never dated Winifred. He kissed her one damn time, didn't enjoy it, fell in love with Sarah, did a whole thing with Sarah, got killed for it. It's further establishing that Winifred is it. She wouldn't hurt Sarah because of it, but Billy tried to fuck up that ring she was building, and so Winifred came out and did some evil shit. Winifred didn't have a "don't worry, Spider-Man, I'll help you in the last minute," didn't have a "come to Jesus, let me atone for my ways and do that." Truly, Winifred was a dick, and she kind of died. Okay, I'm going to do one more big spoiler. In the end, the only thing that gets her to change anything she's doing is to get reacquainted with her sisters. It's not about saving the world. Honestly, I think she would have gone on living if she thought there was a way to bring her sisters back. She only did what she did because it would immediately get her back with her sisters.
Agreed.
So I just will say I don't.
But then the movie acted
I think they did 80% what they always do, but they gave us 20% something fresh. We got a fresh chunk.
Okay, all I gotta say is
fresh chunk.
Yes, but then the movie pretended that was the same as Redemption.
Yes, the movie very much wants to tell you that these characters are redeemed, and
that's what I'm telling you.
Yes.
Like again, the problem is that it's
we all smile as they make this decision, and everything goes away.
Yeah,
yes.
We just okay. So there's that. Disbelief was not suspended a couple of times. Also,
but I think it's better. I think it's a step in the right direction for that plot arc. It's at least evolving. We're seeing the fish have grown gills that will allow them to breathe air for limited amounts of time.
I'm over the.
This is the mud skipper.
I'm over the trope.
It's the mud skipper of sympathetic villains.
So there's that. I will say though, I'm starting to get tired of these sequels trying to do shot-for-shot remakes of sequences that worked well in the first one.
Yes.
If
it's maybe something insanely iconic, sure, but let's face it, all the insanely iconic scenes have been redone. You don't need to keep doing it.
The problem is everyone else has done them, and they've all done them, unfortunately, better because somebody had to do it first.
Yep.
And there you go. The dance sequence, it just missed.
The 2 dance sequences?
Oh, God.
There's one when they first come back, and there's another one at the carnival.
Yeah,
there are 2. And that, I think that sonic boom that was heard around the world was the force that my wife and I rolled our eyes when it hit a second dance sequence.
Okay, look. The first one, the dance sequences worked because...
honestly, on a rewatch, I actually still looked at my wife and went, yeah, this scene really doesn't make any sense, does it? And she goes, no, it's just here to cast that spell.
And that's just
that was it.
And guess what?
Oh, the first one doesn't even do that. The first one, dude, the first one is so much more, the second one I actually kind of understood because it was homage to the first movie. The second one was. The first one, they just come back, do a song and dance number, and then somebody offhandedly makes a comment about, oh, they like to do that. Based on what? Based on one time they came back in the 90s?
Yeah.
The line doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense. The first one is terrible.
Look, in the first movie, that scene with the spell, I'm like, I get it. I understand what they were going for. It's one of those things where it doesn't quite hold up because you weren't there, right?
Sure. With the
first movie,
lenses of adulthood, why do they know any of these songs?
Yes, that's the biggest thing. In the first movie, that's the only part of that scene I never liked. I was like, how would they know these?
Yeah.
Unless
let me play devil's advocate one more time.
Stop. Me first.
Okay.
So, there has been other bodies of work that have played the, well, this started as an old spell that's some artist just brought back, or so there you go. If you really want to fucking plot device that bitch in, there's a little bit of fun.
Actually, I will correct you a little bit, and I think actually make this better for you.
Sure.
Because I watched them closer together than you did, I don't think you quite noticed this. In the original musical number, they're singing the song I Put a Spell on You, except they introduce new lyrics. It's that I say it can buy up and baby up and die. Yeah. Which if you're not a weirdo like me who watches all TV with subtitles, you just assume it's some line you didn't quite hear right or something, and maybe if you're not super familiar with that song, you just think it's a really sing-songy chorus. It's nonsense gibberish words. That is like with the subtitles on. It may not be exactly what I said, but it's something close to what I said.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it is the part of the song that is a spell. Mm-hmm. And that's something I actually appreciate about both the original Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2. On this rewatch, weirdly, the movie, has lore. There is a structure to how spells work. And part of that spell that they worked in the original included this enchantment of I say it can buy up and baby up and die, or whatever it is, right? Hocus Pocus 2, the song they sing, works. The exact same spell. So I will give it credit in that it doesn't just pay homage by doing the same lyrics. Weirdly, if we're talking about universe building, which you and I are a big fan of, that means that is a chunk of enchantment spell.
Yeah.
That has now worked consistently. Like they've just given us lore. That is an enchantment spell. That chunk of words done in any tone, but that chunk of words done rhythmically creates this enchantment. And I gotta say, as much as I hate the musical number, I like more that they brought those lyrics back, because even if it wasn't intentional, what they've just done is they've created a spell. Yep. They did oh, Harry Potter fans are gonna hate me. Expecto Patronum?
Okay.
They just made an Expecto Patronum. They made their enchantment words, and it's a canon thing.
No,
and it's kind of fucking brilliant.
I understand it, and it makes
gold
sense.
Fucking star for that
I
bit
didn't
alone.
miss it. I didn't miss it. I didn't catch what you're talking about. What I don't like is that the sequence itself doesn't make sense.
It's fucking terrible.
Because
don't get me wrong. It's awful.
It also feels like they created that whole carnival just for that scene.
Yes. The scene itself does not work, just like it didn't work in the original. It doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. But at least they gave it this tiny anchor point.
Yeah.
Of if you boiled down the script writing session, that is, the Sandersons do something to cast this spell. You know, like if this was our D&D group, it would be the largest conversation on, okay, what's the flavor context for casting this spell that we need to cast in these specific circumstances. So it gets do I hate it? Yes. Would I prefer that it wasn't in the movie at all? Yes. But is there some sort of nugget, some sort of kernel that does make it fucking work for the movie? Sure does. Hate to say it, but it's right there.
Sure does.
It does. It's right there. Credit where it's due. They put the effort in. God damn it.
Look, yep. And there's a couple of things that are exactly like that.
There are a few things that are like, fuck, I hate this scene, but you know what? Some page that they paid to be a gopher was like, do you remember this from the original? And they were like, fuck, you just made your paycheck, kid. And they put it in.
Yeah, things like that. And I will say, there's a couple of jokes where, while they were obvious, they just fucking did it. The fucking Roombas, like...
The Roomba's fucked. It was funny.
Oh my god, they basically turned her into fucking Iron Man there for a sec.
Yep.
So that shit was great, and the fact that it wasn't just a throwaway gag. Although I will say, God, that whole thing in the garage, I found that to be entirely fucking... What was the point? What was the point of
Yeah,
all that?
yeah.
Like that whole section could just fucking go away.
Big improvement. They gave the two sisters, Mary and Sarah, had a lot more character and a lot more lines in this one.
Yeah, and
A
the weird part
lot more.
though is that they by giving them character, they started to make Winnipeg's character be worse.
Winifred,
I
Winnipeg
don't
is a
whatever.
city.
Winifred, sorry, you're
This
right.
whole town in Canada. Uh, and honestly, yes, but going back and watch, Winifred was a dick, and so by giving them some more voice, and as somebody who's not a huge fan of Sarah Jessica Parker, like not being like I don't know, she isn't in stuff that I like. Honestly, she's just she's not. It's
I'm
not
glad to
her,
see
but
that your
she's
dislike of her has tempered over the years because you used to be very much
well,
anti.
she's married to Matthew Broderick, and he's a murderer. But whatever. She's great in this. She's super funny, and Kathy Najimy, who's always been fucking funny and is just a fantastic human being, again, finally gets a little bit more room to flex and play with Mary a little bit more. And I think it like the food thing, like Mary is only ever commenting on how she's gonna eat these kids. That's it. She's got that one track mind, but she's able to really hammer that forward with the extra dialogue, and it works.
Well, what I found interesting is that like watching the actresses go right back into it, you could tell which one of them have grown so beyond this role
Yeah.
that like they're hamming it up to play this character.
But Ham works for this.
Exactly. So I it's just interesting to watch like as a film buff. No, as someone that enjoys not
As an artist.
yeah. Well, how do you say that without sounding like a total douche? As someone who enjoys the mechanics of the
As a
craft.
cinephile.
Yeah, no. As someone who likes to talk about the mechanics as well, I find it fascinating that you can tell, like, for me, two people really stood out. Where I was just like, you're better than this now. Okay. I get what's happening here. One of them not so much, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody so that because that's not the point. But I found it absolutely fascinating. I felt like the actor that played the mayor was unfortunately underutilized. He's usually
Yeah, he was great.
He's pretty good in almost everything the dude's in. Like
Yeah.
Community, you remember him?
He was Doppeldinger?
No, he was the pottery teacher.
I don't recall.
The no ghosting in his class.
Oh, right.
He's
Okay.
been in Arrested Development. He played one of them, part of the main cast. But yeah, he's pretty good in everything he does. So I thought he was underutilized. Although I like what do you want? Sorry, I like what we got. I gotta say though, like the the magic shop owner was completely wasted. I was
He
a
was
little,
a little bit, yeah.
I was a little annoyed that pretty much every single dude in this movie was a fucking moron. Just like outright, they were all of them. Like I think the closest one who wasn't, but sort of was the zombie.
Oh, that's Doug Jones, Abe
Yeah.
Sapien.
Yeah. So like I thought that was kind of stupid, and I felt like the magic teacher character was just they could have done the Black Candle a different way, and it would have saved us 30 minutes.
And then okay, this is gonna be the last thing we do, and then we probably should close it out for the night. Originally, Thora Birch was supposed to be in this one. Thora Birch played the little girl in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that she was going to come back and play the three main girls' school teacher. My bet is that with the original script, she would have probably taken a lot of the role from the manager from the magic shop owner. I don't know this for a fact. I could be completely wrong. It could have been a 10-second cameo. I don't know any of this, and I'm not claiming to. But I would bet that Thora Birch's character would have probably been a little bit more involved in the witches coming back, and that magic character probably would have been magic shop owner would have been reduced a little bit, and that this was sort of born out of because the reason Thora Birch wasn't in it, she didn't decline based on anything other than she's working on another project and the time frames were not compatible. That was
Uh,
it. She
that's
she literally
unfortunate.
just physically could not do it, and so she wasn't in it. I'm willing to bet it was a last minute scramble and rewrite to make it work. That's my bet. It's not a guarantee, but other than that, I do agree with you. I think it just sort of he was sort of plot fuel, and it sort of felt like that Star Wars 8 subplot of like, let's go to the gambling planet. It was just him having a romp as a total B plot that really didn't need to happen.
Yeah, because most of the scenes that he filmed were him and the zombie, which could have been played by literally anybody.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
because it would have been anybody in a
I mean,
suit.
had they gotten back any previous cast, they could have gotten back Max and found a way to justify it. They could have gotten back Thackeray. It was filler plot. That could have been the zombie and Max. That could have been the cat
Yeah,
and the magic shop owner.
exactly.
That
Oh,
it could have
and
it
don't
could have
get me
been
started
anything.
on that fucking cat. Like, either bring back the cat or don't.
Yeah, don't bring back the cat. It was fine. He was
No,
dubbed over in the first movie. It would have been weird for this movie.
well, no. I'm saying like, because they showed the cat several times, right?
Yeah,
Just don't. Just don't.
yeah.
It's not a reference anybody fucking needed. He got a solid ending. The cat's body died, but the dude was
You know the
free.
story of that poor actor, though, right?
Oh dear Lord, no! Please.
So the guy who in real life like plays the human version of the cat,
Uh,
he couldn't do the ye old voice work. And all the producers swore it just wasn't working. So the voice that you hear for both the cat and for his real face
oh
are
no!
both dubbed over by another actor who can do the more ye olde style voice work.
That's wow.
Yeah.
It's weird. Also, I gotta say, it's weird to see new Disney trying to write old Disney,
Yeah.
because Hocus Pocus 1 is still back when like Disney classics were a thing.
Yeah.
Like when a Disney live action movie came out, you were like, you know what, this thing's probably gonna slap. Um,
They got the budget for that shit? Yeah.
right? And now,
Meanwhile, it was actually probably cheaper.
exactly, actually, very true. And now it just feels like they're trying to recapture their glory days. It feels like that's perfect. This was the high school reunion of Hocus Pocus.
Kinda.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. Like some of the people that made it, they didn't really show. They didn't care to.
Yeah.
But
Didn't feel like
you
it.
know,
All right. On that note, I think that's about time.
I think so too. We took up way too much time on Night Wolf.
You know what? I'm not even going to correct it. Go watch Night Wolf, which, if I'm remembering correctly, is a show about a helicopter.
That isn't that Airwolf?
Oh, maybe that's
And,
Airwolf.
and finishing on that note, bye. Check us out
Bye.
Tuesdays.